Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you're tuning in from. This is a BS Buddies podcast. I'm your host, Joe. That is your host, Ian. This is a podcast where most of the time we come up with weird analogies or weird scenarios, create random things like a restaurant, a country, or create bad superpowers. But today, we're gonna be a little bit more serious, a little bit.
So we're going to dial back the silliness meter just a touch. Just a little babble.
And we're going to talk about how we measure success and how we kind of went through and discovered or still discovering how we measure our own success or success in life.
Indeed. Indubitably. Is that a word that fits this scenario? I feel like it does. Indubitably. That one's just fun to say. Also, I got the beads on today. Your boy has got the beads. I don't remember where I got these beads, but I got beads. Oh, I remember where I got them. I got them from a graduation party that we went to the other weekend. I just wanted to point that out, just in case anybody thought I was like repping some chains or something. Nah, I got the beads.
Good enough for
I
me.
just wanted to put that out there.
So we didn't really talk beforehand on how we want to approach this. So like our usual selves, we're going to wing it. Ian, would you like to start?
Sure, that seems like the easiest way to go about these episodes is just jump right into it head first with no plan. It always turns out great.
Yes.
You can always clip together the good sequences and trim the gristle on the bad ones.
True.
I think how we measure success, to just start out baseline, is what is a success, and I think that is probably characterized mostly by the individual. There comes a point in your life where you have to ask yourself, okay, what am I hoping for? What do I want? And how am I going to go about achieving that? Because I think for me, it probably starts in high school, which at that point in time, success for me was doing well on a test, getting a good grade. And then you sort of get kicked out into the world after graduation. And whether or not you go to college, you quickly discover that life has no easy metric for just determining, hey, you did this thing well, or hey, you did this thing bad. There comes a lot of gray area that is associated with living on your own and experiencing life. So I think just success as a baseline definition comes down to the individual rather than a merit of external factors, which I guess is a lot of word salad to just rephrase the question: how do you personally measure success? I just feel like that's important to put that out there because everyone's got different ideas on what's good and what's bad, and what might be great for some person is so great for another person. You know, the old one man's trash is another man's treasure, because we're going to bring metaphors into this and all kinds of fun stuff. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You have any thoughts to tack onto that?
For me, I think it's something that I've always struggled with. Just kind of labeling what success is for me, and the reason why I wanted to talk about it more is because like currently I'm trying to figure it out as well, like just a concrete solid success, because growing up I would always think of success as like fame or being super well known, having a ton of money, which working like through therapy, which I've been doing again, I'm trying to debunk that again, which it's been like, I want to say like a 2 year process, because when you just think of that constantly, you burn yourself out pretty quick. And like I started and stopped YouTube a couple different times, and it was really, I think it was mostly because that like I was expecting like super amounts of growth in a short amount of time, which didn't, it only
Doesn't
stressed me
always
out
work
more.
out
It
like
didn't work. Um, and with the podcast, and I don't know if I've really talked about this too much. For me, the podcast is a great way to go against everything I used to believe.
Going
which
against the grain, so to speak.
pretty much, because like when I last tried YouTube and I was gaining some traction, I mean, to in my perception, like I gained 100 subs in a year's time, and then just life got a little too busy, and I think just making excuses. But for the podcast, I basically went into this saying like, hey, it's probably going to be 3 years until we see a lot of growth, which has
Right.
really brought me back down to earth. Like, I don't stress about the numbers so much. I mean, I do check them every day, but at least this time, when like we lose one subscriber, most majority of the time I will go into the mindset like for every one we lose, we'll gain like two or three more.
Right. Right. And that's important.
And just reminding myself, like when I get frustrated, like, oh, this short isn't doing as well as I'd hoped, or this video isn't doing well. For me, I just remind myself, hey, we're still within the first year. And like I'm thinking, and Ian's not going to like this number because whenever I talk about, oh, we're on episode this, he's like, don't say that. That's weird. But I think like 300 to 400 episodes out is when it's just gonna take off more. And for for me, making sure the shorts are posted consistently and just keeping our consistency is kind of trying to think of how to word this. I guess to me it kind of brings me back down to earth on like, hey, just stay consistent, stick to the path, stick to the plan, and it'll work out. It might not work out as quick as I would used to believe, but like tried and
We'll get there.
true, like just focus on making good content consistently and the rest will take care of itself.
And that's an important mindset to have. I think one of the things that catches a lot of people is like you said, your initial determinations of success was money, fame, high status, and that is not entirely wrong by any measure of the mind. You know, there it is a measure of success. The thing is that it is a very big measure of very big success. I can't help but hear myself when I say measure. It sounds like just Minnesotan accent. Sorry. Random thoughts. Anyways,
Carry on.
it is a measure of big success, and so there is truth in that. I think what a lot of things that people don't realize right away, though, is that in order to make such a grand scale takes a lot of time and patience, which is one of the very important factors that comes into determining your success. And before I joined the military, I had a very similar mindset. All of my success was externally determined. Hey, did people like this when I did this thing? If they didn't, then I must have failed at it somehow in some way. But I think having the experiences that I did in the military and overseas and even in other areas of my life have completely given way to this mindset where I know that as long as I'm keeping my head above water, you know, paying my bills, going to work, doing my thing, and just maintaining my life as it is, then I consider that a win. And obviously, my situation is not standard for everyone. Everyone has very different lives. I'm aware of that. But I've kind of seen the other end of what some people would consider a bad life. And, you know, I just have to say that some of the standards for things that we have here in the States and in our corner of the world are amazing. And it kind of has given me a new light on what I consider to be success. And so I kind of approach everything with the mindset, not necessarily that I'm going to fail, but that it's less of a competition between myself, ourself, this podcast. It's less of a competition from us to other people as it is a competition to our past selves. And one of the quotes that has helped me a lot, quote time, kids. Didn't think you were going to get one this early, did you? A quote that has helped me a lot, or that I've thought about from time to time, it's kind of stuck with me, is to remember that most people are not against you. They're simply for themselves. And, a lot of times we seem to think, oh, this person's got it out for me, or I didn't do it the way this person wanted, therefore I must have failed. When in reality, you know, your idea of what you think should be done and some other person's idea of what you think should be done is wildly different. And even though you may not have done anything bad by any stretch of the imagination, it's the idea that because other people didn't approve of my actions, my creation, my whatever, therefore I failed, can definitely be detrimental to your health. And so, yeah, it's very important to remember that your success is determined by, hey, did you appreciate and did you put effort into the things that you wanted to set out to accomplish? And if you did, then technically by your own merit, you succeeded. And that's not saying that you should go around with everything like, oh, I did it exactly the way I wanted it to, therefore I succeeded. No, 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 no. You should definitely put time and effort into the things that you do. I just think for me, it helps to remember that there's a lot of people out there struggling to do very different things. And something that you excel at, somebody else might be struggling with. And something that they excel at, you might be struggling with. And it sort of lends itself into this, I guess, mindset that as I accomplish things, and as I get older and I will eventually look back on my life, will I be able to look back on all the things I've done, regardless of the outcome, regardless whether they succeeded or failed? Will I be able to look back on them and go, ha, yeah, I did that. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, didn't quite turn out the way I wanted it to, but hey, I put a lot of effort into it and I had some great times with some good friends. And I think that is honestly my driving factor for success. I know we crunch the numbers a lot, and I would love for this podcast to take off. It'd be really cool if we, tomorrow we're like, boom, millions of viewers, everybody knows our name. Honestly, it'd be a little terrifying if I'm, if I'm really honest. That not being able to go to Walmart to go pick up a pack of fries without getting hounded by the masses. Oh my God, that'd be insane. However, I also know that even if this doesn't quite pan out the way we want, I've still had a lot of fun doing this, and I've really enjoyed it. And I also like the fact that I can look back on some of these episodes and I don't want to go bury my face in the sand like I do with some of the old improvs.
Really?
Oh,
For those of you who are new, we used to record videos literally a decade ago now. So high
oh,
school us.
that
Yeah,
hurts. That hurts
that's
to hear that. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
And I had so much fun making those videos. Don't get me wrong, Joe. I don't want you to
That's
feel bad. I had
Oh,
so
I don't
much
feel
fun
bad.
making them.
It was fun in the moment, but yeah, it's the whole
Oh my
like,
God.
man,
I
we've
go
grown
I
up a
go back.
lot.
Yeah, I go back and I watch some of those and I'm like, man, what were you thinking? I know I've said this a few times in other episodes, but and that's the thing, is that even though I look back on those and I just cringe in embarrassment at myself, I don't necessarily consider those failures because we had so much fun doing them. And even though they didn't end up the number one hit video on YouTube, I still really enjoyed our time doing those. And that's one of those things that has stuck with me. And that's the perspective I try to keep as I go forward, that not everything will work out in my favor, but as long as I put forward my effort and have fun with it, then however it turns out, I'm okay. I'm there for it. And that's why I think, well, what they say, the journey, it's not about the destination, it's the journey, and all that other philosophical big brain moments we're having there. So
I
I think that's
also
kind of my stance on it there.
I also think if we didn't record those episodes, we probably wouldn't be doing this today.
That's
Like
very
I
true. That's very true.
I just kind of had that thought as we're talking about it, cuz we stopped at about episode 31, and like by the time this goes out, we're in mid 70s for episodes. They're consistent. We're doing shorts. Uh, But I know a big thing with me that I'm working on right now, just because bills have been super tight, like I don't see myself as big of a success because just kind of fighting the current with that. But another thing that and and I've just been so go go go, and it's another thing I'm working on. Like I
Pacing.
I I'm gonna bring this up for a second. It doesn't really have to do with success, but my last therapy session, um, I was basically telling the therapist like I have this to do, and I just feel so busy all the time. And he's like, okay, write down a sentence of something you have to do tonight. And that night we were gonna record, so I'm like, oh, record podcast episode with Ian. It's like, okay, make it heavier. I'm like, record podcast episode with Ian, so we don't fall behind, leading to more stress. I think is word for word what I wrote. He's like, okay, read it out loud. So I did. And then he said, okay, read it out loud, but slower. And it was one of the
What?
most painful things, not like it hurt my, like, I didn't like start bawling, but I'm like, every time I tried to read it slow, he told me to read it slower and slower to make me like slam on the brakes to calm down. And why I'm saying this is I don't think I take a lot of moments to be like, hey, like my future stepdaughter, my future wife are like they're taken care of, they're healthy, like supporting them as much as I can, and three weird cats, to put it lightly. but but
Weird is a bit of an understatement, but yes, go ahead.
but like I guess kind of patting myself on the back every now and then because like things are taken care of. Yes, we're behind on some bills, but others were good and we're catching up on them. But yeah, it's something I'm still trying to work on. Like hey, you're doing a good job, even though things seem a little crazy. You're handling your stuff for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's well, I mean that's always a good, like I said, as far as mindsets go, that's always something to be cognizant of is to take time to slow down almost and enjoy the moment that you're in. And remember that you're still putting forward effort, you're still getting it done, and things will continue to work as long as you continue to put in effort for it. You know, a lot of times we get caught up in our minds and think that if we're not working on something 24/7, that we're going to fall behind on it.
Me,
I'm going through this right now because I'm taking 2 months. I barely have any of my one video edited that I'm going to post. But I also remind myself, like, hey, we had a roommate move out. We've been having issues with our toilet trying to give us Neptune's kiss every time the upstairs one flushes. Um, Making sure that the structural integrity of the house isn't going to get out. And then on top of that, summertime is the busy season for beer delivery. And so things pick up. And one of the things that always helps me is like I have to slow down and then process out the list of okay, what am I going to do? Like, in fact, I actually just talked with my girlfriend the other night, and this weekend we're going to go through and we're going to organize essentially the whole house, because that's one of the things that I've found for me is if my physical space is a mess, my mind is a mess, and I absolutely cannot do it. I have to organize, because like if I see random junk laying around and I'm like, why is this here? Why do I need these pieces of written paper that are crossed out when I could throw them away? Then I start noticing everything, and then I don't know, it's like I go into overdrive, like nope, I got to clean everything. So that's one of the things that's like, okay, if I can clean the space around me, it's almost like a mental reset. Like, okay, now I've got that taken care of. The physical clutter is clean. The mental clutter is clean. Now I can reattack on what I was working on. And it's finding those little drives that keep you moving forward. That is really, for me, a great way to remember that despite everything, you're still moving forward. Sometimes you don't want to be, but you're always still moving forward. And so you either got to catch up or you're going to get drug along, brother.
Yeah, I I mean, I think this video as a whole is like, I mean, calm
We're
down.
getting real
You're
heavy.
you're probably doing okay, bare minimum, but you're probably doing a lot better than you think you are. Slow down from time to time. That's something that this guy needs to work on
Pump
because
the
I'm turning
brakes.
into my dad and feeling like I constantly have to be doing something.
And if all else fails, just remember that comparison is the thief of joy. If you're always comparing yourself to people who've made it, then you're always going to feel like you haven't made it. When in fact, you can look around and see that I'm doing a lot better than some people out there. So you know, all in. What's the word I'm looking for? Balance, perspective. All in perspective. I think is that what I'm looking for. I look like a
Yeah,
teeter totter. I'm sorry. I'm getting distracted. I'm
that's.
having fun with the camera.
But I think we'll just kind of wrap it up there. I mean, kind of we're still working on our concrete uh, level of success, but I feel both of us, and we're in our mid 20s, we're still working on getting that full, or like I said, concrete. And like just go easy on yourselves. Like if you're 20, 30, 40, 50 still trying to figure it out, that's all right. I thought I was supposed to have it all figured out once I left high school, and I'm 26 and still barely understand what I'm doing, and I got a wedding to plan. So,
I think one of the biggest realizations that I ever had was getting out of high school and getting out into the world and realizing nobody out here has got it figured out. Nobody, not a single one. Some of you think you do, you're wrong. I
but
promise you, whatever you think you know, you're wrong.
I think we're gonna talk about that actually right after this episode. Uh, I don't know what order these are gonna go in, but we're gonna talk about high school in one of the next episodes we record as well, and go
So you'll
into.
see us in the same clothes
Yeah, I think they're
and the
kind of
same
used to it.
backgrounds because I can't be bothered to change this. If ever you're wondering why sometimes the backgrounds are the same and sometimes they're different, it's purely on a whim. It's like me asking for the receipt at a store. It's based on absolutely nothing and it changes every time. Sometimes it's the same, sometimes it's different.
But Ian said a lot of quotes in this, so I think we'll skip the quotes for now. But I guess just be patient, go easy on yourself. At, and I'm telling you this because it's stuff I also need to hear like 3 times a day as well. So,
No matter whether you walk, run, or crawl, no matter how slowly you go, just don't stop. Absolutely butchered that one, but the message
that's
is the
all.
same. So
But
I'm not worried about it. It was successful in my mind.
thank you guys for BSing with us. And if you want more serious videos like this, let us know in the comments. Hit subscribe, follow to become a bud today, and we will see you next time when we talk about high school.
Yeah. Alrighty. You guys just make sure to take her easy now.
And calm down. You're doing just fine.